Hello and welcome to another episode of Prime Time. To be more specific, an episode of the Mentor series. The Mentor series is something that I've started where once in a while I will try and have a conversation with an individual or a couple of people who have converted their passions at great risk into their lifelong professions and their motivations and their journeys behind their doing so is what we're trying to solicit. And today I have two very talented, remarkable young ladies, the co-creators, co-founders, co-owners of the very popular and much respected eateries Cafe Quaint and Bistro Quaint, Aisha and Twinkle. They both join me, and we're going to learn from them how, despite having fairly different and diverse backgrounds academically and work wise, they decided one fine day that this was their calling and they were going to chuck up everything else and just get into this full time. And what a remarkable journey they've had so far, which is very inspiring to me personally. So, welcome to the show, guys.
Thank
Hi,
you.
thank you.
Thank you for a great introduction. We're humbled.
Not at all. It's the absolute truth. So let's get straight into it. Aisha, Twinkle, I want both of you to tell us a little bit about your backgrounds in terms of your growing up years, which city you're from, what was childhood like, where did you go to school, and things like that.
Alright, you start. So I grew up in Jaipur. The city is very. It's a cornerstone in shaping the individual I am. I would say I'm inspired. A lot of plates at Quaint, in fact, are inspired by the Pink City. So we both went to school to MGD Girls School. That's how we met, and we've known each other for almost 24 or 25 years now. We've been friends for that long.
Wow.
And in terms of education, formally, I'm a lawyer. Uh, and I was working in Delhi, shifting my job from Delhi to Jaipur and then to Bombay. And between all of that, Quaint was born. So that is briefly, we'll discuss it further. Let Twinkle talk about herself.
Sure. Twinkle, go ahead.
Uh, I'm Twinkle. Like Aisha mentioned, we both are Jaipur girls. Been born here, brought up here. Went to MGD together for our schooling, and post that I did an engineering, and then I went for an MBA in finance. Worked with a bank for a while, but yes, in between all of that, just one fine day,
A casual conversation.
a very casual conversation led to giving birth to Quaint, I would say, and then rest is history.
Well, most of the time, casual conversations lead to great ideas, and also it's refreshing to see Twinkle that you're in the culinary profession because most engineers who quit their jobs these days seem to become stand-up comedians for some reason.
I think that
Uh,
would be a backup plan if someday it comes to that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so guys, what I want to know is precisely about that casual conversation. How were were both of you not happy with the professions or vocations or jobs that you were doing? How did this conversation come about? When and where did it take place? And how did it go from becoming a casual conversation to a reality manifesting?
Yeah, so it was 2017.
17
Yeah,
February.
2017. I was in Jaipur. I was working here, and it wasn't that I was unhappy with my profession, I would say, but I would rather dissatisfied with the professionalism that because I moved from Delhi to Jaipur, and the kind of work environment as a lawyer that I saw here, I wasn't really happy with it. And
Sure.
I was between a job switch. I was moving from Jaipur to Bombay in the next 2 months, and I was on my I put in my papers. I was just finishing my notice period and moving to Bombay. And Twinkle and I always wanted like, so the future plan was at some point in time quit law and, get into doing what I want to do, which was always being a chef, which was cooking and having a small cafe of my own. And we were sitting in Curious Life, right? Curious had just opened, and Urvi, Urvi. So Urvi is one of our friends. We all grew up together. So Urvi, Twinkle, and I was sitting, and we were just like, I was like, I really kind of just want to do this. And Twinkle is like, what? Even I have given this a thought. I also somewhere want to have an eatery, have a cafe of my own. And I said, see, I have seen this great space. I've seen a tender for it. And would you be interested in coming on board? Very whimsical at that point in time. We were just sipping coffee. It was a, friends catching up sort of a session.
And in fact, we were catching up with each other after a very long time.
Very long
I think
time.
at least some good 4-5 months it had been since we even caught up. And so I had just quit my job, and I was still sort of figuring out what I want to do, because I
Okay.
was not happy with the job that I was in.
Okay.
So I was just in the middle of sort of figuring things out, what to do and what not to do. And this conversation happened. She came there to the cafe, and she told me
Yeah.
that I've seen this space and there's a tender process that is happening. So
Yeah.
and she's like, I'm sort of very interested, but
So I was falling short of funds. So I
Right.
had, saved up quite a bit in my short stint as a lawyer. So but I was falling short of some capital to be invested. So I told Twinkle that this is what I have chalked out and this is what I need. She's like, let me come back to you the next morning.
Okay.
And I honestly did not expect her to come back to me the next morning.
like
So she gave me a call at 7:30 in the morning. She's like, "Listen, let's have the partnership deed drawn. Let's do this." And I was
Wow.
just,
so it just happened like overnight.
Okay, and there's at the cost of sounding slightly personal and rude, because it's very pertinent to our discussion. How old were the two of you when this took place?
25.
yeah,
Okay, so what I also and please carry on. I'm sorry I interrupted you. You can complete your answer first and then answer my next question, which is at that age of 25, with which I would say is fairly young by any stretch of imagination, and with no serious culinary experience, no background in culinary or hospitality. And I mean, the fact of the matter is that being two girls, how did you, what gave you the courage despite all these seemingly negative truths that stacked up against you? Was it just some naive bravado, or was there some other force that gave you the courage to actually take the plunge?
So I think it was
it was both.
yeah. So it was you can say 75% passion and 25% naivety, both. Since both of us were in Pune at some point, so when we came back to Jaipur, we always
missed having
missed places.
a catch-up space where you would just have your, so when we both spoke about it, we both envisioned a place wherein you could just walk in your pajamas, right? So Jaipur kind of lacked that for us at that point in time. Like for us, even till date, Anoki would be our go-to.
Sure.
But beyond that, a place which gave you everything, we kind of missed that.
Sure.
So I think, Kartik, for both of us, I would say that it was definitely, if today, after gaining experience in the industry for almost 4 years, if somebody came and offered this space to me today, I would really think about it. So to an extent, our lack of knowledge or experience really helped us kind of work with what we had at that point in time.
Right.
So our kitchen is very small. and to cater to a seating space of say about 60 people at Quaint. If today somebody gave me that kitchen, I would be like, you're out of your mind. But at that point in time,
We actually didn't know any better.
we didn't know any better. So we learned gradually to work with everything that we had. And the other thing was that we both kind of quit our thriving professions. I was a young lawyer, I was doing well for myself. So somewhere that motivation also came from the space where we didn't want to give ourselves any excuses. You know, we would do our best to make this work hard in terms of action and also in terms of brain application. And
Sure.
if further on, if it didn't work, then probably, we would come up with plans for that. But we never gave ourselves the option of failing at that point in time, because we were so cautious about the fact that we have both really taken probably the biggest risks of our lives.
Sure.
For me, it's going back to the legal career means I need another 3 more years of education and experience, and yet I start as a fresher today. So it
Correct.
was everything on gamble, savings and career.
Right.
So that was the motivation behind working very, very hard.
Okay, that makes sense. Twinkle, you want to add something?
I think she has pretty much summarized how it went, what our thought process was, what we felt emotionally at that time. That this is all we had. This was our one chance, and we knew that we just have to make it work. Like that was it. We just had to make it work.
Lots of questions are coming to my mind, but before we go any further, what I've not done till now, but anyway, better late than never. Why don't you tell us in your own words about both your eateries?
So Cafe Quaint was born in 2018. 17, the end of 2000, November 17, yeah. So again, coming back from what I said, that we learned how to work around what we had. So we had a very small kitchen and we had to make the menu very efficient. So farm to fork in Jaipur at that point in time was quite a new concept. Now I think every eatery is following that, which is great. So we didn't have enough space to store and stock things. We did not have a store. We did not have a walk-in fridge or a
Pantry,
storage or
nothing.
anything. So fresh became a part of our identity from day one because we had no other option. And second thing, personally, I feel that seasonal food tastes the best in the season, and it's also a very healthy approach to eating. So seasonal and fresh came from that, and the menu was designed from memories. I would say from memories from childhood, from memories from adulthood, comfort food yet healthy and fresh. So the idea behind it was constantly evolving. We've never had one fixed menu. We've had couple of things which have always been there, but the menu is always evolving. So as individuals also, the eatery really reflects of who we are. It is minimalist in its in its interiors and decor. It is ever growing, as we say that as individuals we want to constantly keep learning and growing. So Cafe
Sure.
Quaint is about that. uh, Bistro Quaint is an upmarket version of the similar ideology with a vegetarian and vegan menu, because we felt that there was an increasing demand for vegan plant-based food in the city, not only because of it's an internationally growing food trend, but also because I am personally lactose intolerant. So for that reason, we also thought that there are a lot of people who are now aware of their allergies,
Mhm.
aware of their food restrictions. So we
Right.
must have a menu which caters to a rather more diverse audience than just one. So that is the reason we incorporated gluten-free vegan stuff for the Bistro Quaint menu. Yeah.
Okay. As two young professionals taking the plunge into this uncharted world, and I have, I think, some vague insight into this, but for our viewers, tell us a little bit in detail about how the two of you, decided to split your duties as co-founders and co-creators. What kind of conversations did you have at the beginning? How did you arrive at the work division? Because that is one area that can lead to a lot of, fights or misunderstandings or just poor management.
So, like, we're both from very different educational backgrounds. Also, I would say, not
Right.
only what in terms of what we're doing here. So, she heads the kitchen. She's the one
Right.
who designed the menu from day one, and she's the head chef. She does all the R&D that goes into the latest food trends, what we can add, what we can remove, what we can modify. She does all of that, and I am as far as cooking possible from cooking as somebody can be. So
Okay.
that one thing that was very clear between us from day one, that
Right.
that was a territory where we knew that there won't be any conflicts, because again, I don't know anything about
Right.
uh,
So your core competencies complement one another.
absolutely.
Yes.
And coming from a background in finance, I was the person who from day one took over managements and accounts, because that was my forte. That was something that I
Right.
really loved doing.
Right.
So, and that is something that she hates, honestly.
Right.
Even till date, she's like, okay, you want me to go through
I
something?
mean, it's like a punishment for me if I have to get into accounts. I do it, but then,
Right.
So yeah, like from the beginning, duties have been divided basis what our strengths were,
Right.
though we've been both equally involved in the others duties as well, I would
Yeah.
say. Time and again we do step in whenever needed, but yes, uh,
Yeah. So
there were
Yeah.
like clear set of responsibilities that each of us had, and that sort of avoided conflicts also. And considering that we've been friends and we've known each other for donkey's years now, we know how we are as individuals also. We were not new to
Right.
each other,
Right.
like as people we were not new to each other. So
Sure.
but of course, like working together for 4 years now, we've learned to go around each other as well. We understand what the other one likes or wants, or how they tend to convey conflicts. I would say we still do have them.
I mean, yeah, part of
but
any healthy
yeah.
partnership or relationship,
Certainly.
we're both pretty headstrong as individuals. So strong opinions always get into the way of our functioning. But then, since the beginning, we've had this very strong rule in place, which is Quaint above personal interests. So, so that kind of, when we go back with probably a conflict or a discussion in head, uh, the resolution would always be what is best for Quaint, as opposed to, this is what I want and this is what I want. So it's literally like raising a child, I would say.
Certainly.
Also, with the years of experience, very very brief though, I would say 4 years is nothing in terms of having any sort of experience in the industry you're absolutely new to. But we've really gotten in tandem sort of a sync with each other with respect to our duties also. Earlier they were very well defined, I would say, which helped us. But now it's more or less like we're doing everything together, step
Right.
by step. So that has also really helped us increase our efficiency much more.
Okay. Well, I don't know. In my view, two people in a partnership, in a business partnership, who've been friends for so long, can be like a double-edged sword sometimes. But anyway, great that it's worked out for you.
Yeah.
Twinkle, I want to ask you a specific question, and then Aisha, I want to ask you a specific question. Twinkle, my question is that since you're not the food person per se, what was your reason to get into this partnership in the first place, and what do you get out of this whole endeavor?
So, Karthik, maybe for me also, this was sort of a very long-term plan that, my father and I used to always talk that once he retires, then maybe we'll open up a restaurant, or we'll open up an eatery, because that was something. So he's sort of fond of cooking again.
Okay.
So that it uh, came from there, that somewhere at the back of my mind I always had this thing that maybe one day I'll do something like this. Maybe I didn't think at that point in time that it would be a full-time thing for me, but
Sure.
sort of investing, or just being a partner in some business or something like that. But when the conversation with Aisha happened the other day, like which is now 3 years ago, 4 years ago, so it sort of just somehow struck with me there that
Right.
why later and why not now.
Correct.
And I mean, I was also still in the process of trying to figure out what I want, and I thought that you know there's no harm in trying. The worst that's going to happen is it will fail. That's the word. That is all that it can do. But I knew that I'll always come out learning something from the whole experience, and
Right.
that was the whole idea, I would say. But also, since getting the degree in management, I sort of had an idea of how things would work around, like at
Correct.
least theoretically. No B school gives you any practical experience,
Sure.
but you know I heard that maybe this is it. This is going to be something that I would really enjoy doing, and uh, understanding what I get from Queen is that I have learned so much in the last 4 years that I probably no school or B school or anybody ever can teach you.
I can
and
appreciate that.
and it's a very sort of fulfilling experience that at the end of a very long day, when I go back home, I'm at least happy with what I'm doing. But when
Right.
people, like, on a random day, when people just message and say that, hey, we loved your food, it made us happy, it made our day, and we're just like, okay, we're sorted, we're probably doing a good job.
Right. Okay. That's a wonderful way of looking at it. And Aisha, to you specifically, I wanted to ask. As far as I know, you don't have any formal academic background in anything culinary. So, how did you sort of? I know you touched upon this briefly, but tell me a little bit more about. Didn't you have any apprehensions starting a cafe and devising a menu and starting to cook for the public in general?
So Karthik, before I started the cafe itself, on weekends I would bake for my friends, and which became also a sort of a weekend home baking sort of a venture for me a year before Quaint happened. So
Okay.
I had picked up certain insights on running a business or an eatery full fledged, but
Okay.
I would say it was barely anything in terms of running the cafe itself.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so with respect to the menu creation and everything, yes, definitely I did not have any. I do not till date have any culinary qualification, but it is the passion, it's the fire inside me, because I'm so fully drawn towards the process itself that it keeps me going. Plus, there's a lot of research that goes into doing what I'm doing. It's not just that we tried making this and it's on the menu, but it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of R&D that goes into it. Thirdly, the last most important thing I would say is that customer feedbacks have given me more experience than anything else could. Uh, so I am friends with a lot of people in this industry now, a lot of well-established chefs also, and all I take from them also is that nobody can really teach you how to cook. It
Hmm.
has to be it is a form of art, and
Right.
art cannot really be taught. Yes, the basics
Right.
need to be taught, but then the produce is your canvas, literally.
Right.
For
No. So which is what I was coming to, and sorry to interrupt you here
yeah.
because this view of generally across the arts, whether it's something like cooking or whether it's filmmaking in my case, and music or
Yeah.
painting, whatever it may be. There's always this debate actually of whether you really need to study it or not. And
Hmm.
there comes a point in many people's lives where they decide to not have that formal education and
Yes.
have work experience instead. So now, and try and answer this objectively and honestly. Do you wish that you had trained? Do you at some point see yourself and going and doing a few courses?
So Karthik, honestly, there was a time in my not in my career, I would say during my law school days, probably in my third year, when I rang back home and said that this is not what I want to do. I've started to love cooking, and I want to do a course in culinary arts, and my parents were just taken aback that this child was doing fairly good, and suddenly she's come up with a whimsical idea again. So yes, a part of me wanted to study, but I feel that work experience has given me more. In today also, I would not want to go to a formal course, but I would like to start or intern with chefs I'm fond of, whose ideology and creativity inspires me. I would
Right,
love to work with them to understand the science better.
right.
So, future plans would definitely involve internships and staging, and probably even full time working at a place rather than a degree or a diploma in culinary arts. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I mean that makes sense now at this juncture because I don't know how much a culinary course will be able to give you at this stage, and what you seem to aspire to makes a lot more sense now. Okay, I know this also now. My next question you sort of briefly touched upon by default, but I want both of you to comment, and for our younger viewers especially, talk us through. It's probably going to be a really long answer, but some of the more pressing challenges that you faced in the beginning days.
Uh, being a woman to begin with, nobody took
So
us
it's,
seriously.
please expand on that. I'm very curious.
So when we got this space here at Jawahar Kala Kendra, we went through this whole 1 year, almost a year-long process of tenders and tastings and presentations and XYZ. Finally, we got the tender, and there was a civil work plan that was put into place to get the basic civil work sorted,
Sure.
and there would be these masons who would come here to do the work, and we would come here to supervise. And there would be at least one incident every day where they would say कि अरे सर नहीं आए क्या आपके साथ, आपको तो नहीं पता होगा मैडम, आप सर को बुला दीजिए कि
Right.
how some things got to work. And
And even with 4 years, Karthik, that hasn't changed.
Of
Even
course.
today, when we're talking to somebody or we're introducing ourselves to probably somebody who's not from an education or a s- or a background where they understand what women can achieve, it's usually like probably it's your fathers and you're just probably the face of it,
Right.
or probably your husband is invested into it,
Right.
so those are really I say that they're very demotivating things at times. Secondly, management of staff has been our and this is by virtue of being women, because men usually don't tend to take orders from women very well, so that has been a very very difficult we still kind of struggle
struggle
with
with
it,
it.
because they
Yeah.
don't like taking orders from us. Somewhere that sort of patriarchal male supremacy somewhere comes in the way of
Sure.
even people who are our employees.
Right.
So uh,
Yeah.
so being a woman has been the biggest challenge, I would say. It shouldn't be so, but it has been. With respect to everything, with respect to financial, uh, kind of management, with respect to admin management, with respect to everything we have faced, we've probably not, what she said, we've probably never been taken seriously.
Even now,
Yeah.
even after all these years, we've honestly, like, probably every day we face some or the other incident which involves this, and it used to demotivate us way more earlier. Now we've, I think, just
Probably thick skin now.
yeah, we're just thick skinned that, this is how it is, and you can only do your best and just like let others' opinions be to them.
Do you think this is slightly exaggerated in our city or state or country as opposed to elsewhere? What's the sense you have?
I wouldn't say it is exaggerated, Karthik. It is probably the fact that our city is very small in terms of limited thinking, I would say.
Hmm.
Maximum mindsets are very limited, you know. Uh, so that kind of, but I would say it's across the board, Karthik. Women entrepreneurs, women chefs, people, women in position definitely have faced challenges by virtue of being a woman.
Mm. Yeah, no, I hear you completely. I mean, my Anuja and I have had our fair share of experiences. When we were building our new house, I wasn't keeping well at all those days, and Anuja was the one who was coming on the site every day, and she faced exactly the same thing. Nobody from an ordinary mason to the contractor to nobody wanted to listen to her. Everybody was exactly what you said. Saab kahan hai, bhaiya kahan hai? Where's the man? Uh, and I was shocked many years earlier when we used to live in Bombay and we had just bought an apartment and moved into it. And one has this sense that or this perception that Bombay is so cosmopolitan and modern, etc. And in our building society, so many men asked Anuja what I did, and when she replied with what she did, which was the same thing as what I did, they just sort of overlooked that and were only interested in what the man did. So these things exist, and it's very sad. It's absolutely shameful. And I'm sorry to hear that you encounter it on a daily basis. But the only way is to become thick-skinned and carry on what you're doing, which is great. Okay. Now, how did Bistro come about? Tell us a little bit about that quickly.
So Bistro was, again, it is a passion project between us and Hermosa Design Studio, basically. So they are a family based out of Kota, and they approached us that we're setting up.
They'd been to the cafe a couple of times.
Okay.
They used to come here a few times, and that's how it started. They just connected with us, and they told us the whole idea that they had about setting up a luxury design store, and sort of wanted a nice bistro there to cater to not only their guests but also other people who would like to
Sure.
walk in and grab a
Yeah,
bite.
only to become mutually beneficial.
Yes.
Exactly. So that was the whole idea. That's a we would say that it's a combined project for both the parties, in terms of design, in terms of how the cafe was built. But again, the food philosophy there was absolutely ours.
Right.
That they left it upon us, that they had a basic idea of what they wanted, and which also sort of we did not want to dissociate the two identities, because it's at the end of the day an extension of Quain. So in terms of the food philosophy, we try to keep it the same. Again, the minimal farm to fork, and good food, which you can just like walk in and enjoy, and have a good time.
We've always laid emphasis on good produce over anything else, because as somebody who cooks, I feel that your produce defines your dish more than anything else can. You can have various techniques, various flavors, but if your produce is substandard, you will not have a great quality dish. So
Sure.
there
It's
are
impossible. Yeah.
challenges Yes, so there are challenges with respect to that also, because Jaipur as an audience, it's a ever evolving market in terms of food, but also very restrictive on price points. So people do expect us to serve what we do at a much lower rate, which honestly is not possible for us, because we are sourcing the finest products in the city. Since the beginning, we've tied up with Orville for our cheese. Before we were baking our breads ourselves, we would source them from Delhi, from Sochali. So our sourcing per se has been of good products, things we would eat. We don't throw in processed cheese in our sandwiches, which Jaipur takes time to understand. So that is also sort of challenge for us on a lot many fronts. But we
Right.
do see the market evolving very recently. I would say the last 10 months have been the most, the pandemic has been sort of really depressing in terms of business and numbers, but in terms of
A
demand
mental shift.
Yeah.
of good produce and good food, we've seen the last 10 months as it being booming.
Right.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
considering, yeah,
Go ahead. Go
considering the
ahead.
pandemic and people, trying understanding that what healthy ingredients and healthy components in your food can do. Definitely,
Sure.
yes. What she said, that we've seen to be changing a lot.
Right, right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, now finally, I have to ask you guys, to any young people in sort of school, high school, college, who are very, very passionate about anything, not just about food. It could be anything. What advice would you give a youngster who's very passionate about something and wants to or is toying with the idea of converting that passion into their full lifetime pursuit? Any advice or words of wisdom that you can share?
I would say that one must definitely explore the area of interest to its optimum uh, ability, and also at the same time, passion alone is not going to convert into a career or convert into anything that you, or anything successful for that matter. So one advice that I have for younger lot people who want to pursue their passions is be very, very, very consistent in pursuing it.
Hmm.
Consistency is something that really helps you learn deeper into your passion.
Okay.
Passion alone won't really end up into a success venture, is what I personally feel.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that is my advice to younger people who want to pursue their passion, is that definitely go behind it, no matter how challenging is it. But at the same time, be very consistent and have resilience. I mean, it's not going to be a it's not going to be an easy climb up or an easy walk through everything. It's going to be difficult. There are going to be challenges, but remember and keep reminding yourself why you are doing it in the first place, because it gives you absolute happiness. It gives you a sense of peace and calm, and that is invaluable, I would say.
Okay. Did either of you have a problem convincing your parents of what you were about to get into?
I did.
I did not, thankfully. But yes, some
Yeah.
resistance definitely was there. But once I think they took some time to see what we had set out to do. And then, they sort of came around and they understood that,
Yeah.
these two are not going to budge.
Yeah.
So probably we'll need to start being more understanding of what they are trying to do and what they want to do. But
Yeah.
now I think it's
Yeah, no, for me, like my father was extremely supportive. I would say a reason that I was able to do this in the first place was him backing me up. I very thankful to him for that. also he's been a person who's always followed his various passions. So somewhere he did not come in the way of me taking this decision, but my mother was very, very apprehensive. She till date is not particularly happy with what I do. Usually during conversations, it's like, I expected you to be a judge. Why don't you
Right.
take the exam? I was like, because I don't want. She's like, you're so good at it. I know you will clear the exam. I was like, I know it myself too. I might be able to, but that's not something what I want to do.
Right.
So she also comes from a very, very, uh, means to an end sort of a thing. Your education should convert into you making money, or your education should
Correct.
convert into you being at a certain position in life.
Sure.
So it was very difficult for me to convince her otherwise, but I did what I had to. And I still
And so therefore, any advice to youngsters who are in, because a lot of youngsters, so the two things that they essentially face is to develop the courage, to harness the courage on your own to follow your passion, which we kind of discussed. And the other obstacle is family or parents and convincing them. So any advice if somebody's stuck vis-a-vis their parents?
I would say having a frank chat, communication would really help in that regard. And if they are very certain that this is what they want, go behind it. The maximum, like she said in the beginning of this conversation, was the maximum that could go wrong is you'd fail. But
You'd learn something out.
personally, failure has taught us in these 4 years. Failure has taught us more than any sort of success did. We've grown as individuals, as a business, by virtue of our failure. It wasn't the success that helped us figuring out things in life. It was when we fell flat on our faces, we realized that this is where we went wrong, and this is probably how we can do it better. So maximum is you'd fail. So don't be scared of failing, and don't be scared
disheartened by
don't be scared of speaking to your parents. I mean,
yeah. So like I would personally say not to put up a fight with your parents, but yes, trying to explain
Communication.
them what you want to do and how you would like to go about it. Like, not only just passion, how she mentioned, only having passion won't take you anywhere.
Right.
It
There
needs
has to be a plan.
it has to be a plan, and you need to be prepared for all sort of days
I
and
mean, you have to
situations.
show up. For us also, the last 4 years of our lives have been, we've literally never stepped out. We've been working at odd hours. We've been working shifts from 9 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And it takes some amount of determination to be able to do that, because when we see, even as a lawyer, going back to my previous life, wherein I had a salary credited into my account, had weekends free, the kind of life I was leading then and the kind of life I'm leading now, this is more satisfying, I would say, but it is more challenging also. There are times when I can't show up for family functions. There are times when I can't meet my friends, and over time we've learned how to make peace with that. So for younger people also, it's going to be challenging.
It won't be a smooth ride.
Yeah, and I mean, if you
Right, what I'm also hearing is that there'll be a lot of sacrifice.
Absolutely, a lot of sacrifices.
it's a part
Like,
of it.
you just need to be prepared. I mean, we are not saying that it's like going to be there, but you just need to be prepared
Mentally prepared that it might just show up.
it might just show up, and you might just have to give up on a lot other things to pursue this dream that you have set out to. So that's the only thing I think we would like to.
And yes, for everybody out there, please dream. It's very important. Be it really big, be it really whimsical, stupid, but if it's yours, you can achieve it. Like you really can.
Well, that's a wonderful thought and a positive thought to conclude our conversation on. I am very, very unabashed in my admiration for the two of you. I think both of you are pioneers and trendsetters, and really role models to a lot of young people and especially women. So keep doing what you're doing. More power to you and lots of love to you. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you. It
so
was a
much.
pleasure.
We hope to see you soon.
Very soon.
Yes.